You often hear when talking to people in gyms that training to failure is essential to maximise muscle growth. However, what do we mean when we use the phrase training to failure? Training to failure can be defined as the point where the activated muscles are incapable of completing another complete repetition without assistance. Do we need to go to muscle failure in our own training in order to optimise muscle hypertrophy? To help answer this question, an article in the Strength and Conditioning Journal titled "Does Training to Failure Maximise Muscle Hypertrophy?" was produced by Brad Schoenfeld and colleague. As we know, Brad is often considered the hypertrophy specialist. Current evidence suggests that training close to muscle failure, i.e. stopping 2 to 3 repetitions short of failure, may produce similar effects on muscle size as training to true muscle failure. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, aims to summarise 5 key considerations from Brad's article, which will be well worth your time if you are considering prescribing training to muscle failure for your resistance exercise. Let's dive straight into the key considerations. Consideration 1. Load. Training your muscles to failure may be more relevant when training with lower loads, because larger motor units may not be activated until failure is reached. This is because when you are resistance training and using higher loads, your higher threshold motor units are recruited almost straight away. Consideration 2. Safety. From a safety point of view, when adopting training to failure, it may be preferable for you to use single joint and machine-based exercises for your resistance training, as complex multiple joint free weight exercise may increase your injury risk. Moving on to consideration 3, recovery. You need to be aware that training to failure may slow down your recovery from exercise up to 24 to 48 hours. Therefore, if your training program involves a high weekly training frequency, say 4 or more sessions per week per muscle group, adopting training to muscle failure may not be optimal. Consideration 4. Age. Older adults may experience slower post-exercise recovery in comparison to young individuals. This is because, as mentioned previously, training to failure may slow down your recovery from exercise even further. Therefore, training to muscle failure may not be appropriate for older adults. Last consideration then, consideration 5, is training periodization. Training to muscle failure can be periodized throughout a training program. However, if you are using training to failure, it should be used in short training blocks, for example 4 weeks, or on selected exercises in order to help avoid overtraining. That concludes the 5 key points to consider when prescribing training to muscle failure. This presentation was brought to you by Talking Sports Science. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.